Hello and welcome to this little tutorial video. Now before I talk about anything else, let me quickly address the elephant in the room. This video is very long. I know it's very long and I know that's not cool for many people, but let me tell you that almost everything in this video is something you only need to do once. So I have added chapters to this video. And only the last chapter, you can see the chapters in the description, or if you hover over the progress bar of the video, or however it's called. Only the last chapter is what you regularly do. Everything else before that is preparations you only do once. So I hope it's still bearable for you. Okay, now what's in this video? One rather famous tool for the Splatoon community is the s3s script. It is a little application and you can use it for mostly two things. The first one is you can download your battles, which are shown in the Nintendo Switch app, the splatnet3 app, you know, for smartphones, for Android and iOS. And you can download them and upload them to a website called stat.ink. Now in stat.ink, these battles don't really look different than how they appear in the app. However, stat.ink does never delete your battles. So I can scroll down here and go on page 5, and that's like, I don't know, 400 battles ago. But in the app, only the recent 50 battles will be kept. So I have a longer history of my battles on stat.ink, and that's pretty useful sometimes because, you know, I could just go and say, okay, let's say, NZAP 85. What was my last battle with this? And it was probably months away. Yeah, it was 5 months ago, and yeah, I could look up how it went and stuff. Now that's pretty useful. And the other pretty useful thing which s3s supports is it helps you to find your gear seed for Lean's gear seed checker. This is another web page, and it is also very useful for Splatoon 3 players because it calculates your RNG. So, for example, this part of the page, which I have open right now, tells me what I'm going to pull out of the shellout machine in the lobby. So for example, the next capsule I'm going to buy will give me a food ticket. It's not a drink ticket, it's a food ticket for 50% more experience, which is pretty useless. But you know, I can also, for example, use a filter, search for the silver capsule with the rare titles, and I will get the next one in 226 rolls. Now you see this is pretty useful because you can also do other stuff. For example, you can find out about how to unlock the chunks you want to have on your gear, like the abilities on your shirt, how to unlock them fast. So what's the fast way to get, for example, 3 times swim speed up on my shirt? And you can use this website for. So that's pretty useful. Now here's the bad thing. Roughly 9 months ago, Nintendo specifically introduced a change to their Nintendo Switch app for smartphones to make it much harder for third-party tools, because that's a community tool, to access the data. And ever since, s3s hasn't really worked. So many people couldn't upload their battles or even, you know, use the Lean's seed gear checker tool. I, however, was searching for a solution for this issue because I really wanted to continue using all of this. And I found it rather quickly and used it and improved it for some months until I told other people, and they asked me to publish my method. And it took me some more months of work to get it in a state where I can show it to other people, because I had a very specific use case that wouldn't work for anyone else. And now it's at the state where I can publish it and it can be useful for you. And that's what I'm going to do here. So the first part you need is the s3s script, but it doesn't contain a lot of stuff that is required to use it. So there's a second project, and that is called, whoops, that's the wrong website. Sorry. That is called splatnet3-token-util. And that is my private project I have been working on for 9 months now. And what it does is basically it gets the tokens to access the Splatnet3 smartphone app from an emulator. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, so all the links, of course, will be in the description. A link to this website will be there too. And if you open it, you can scroll down and then you will see a very long description. So don't worry, we don't need any of this. The interesting part is directly at the start. It's this section, the quick start. Here you have a little link to the quick start s3s tutorial. You could also click it here in the file list. There it is. Let's click this. And that is the actual instruction on how to use my tool to get s3s running again. All right. Yeah, so that is basically the introduction for this video. But there's one last thing. I will keep this tutorial, this text tutorial here, I will keep it open at all times, and I will basically just walk through it. The reason for this is because, you know, it is very easy to update the text in this tutorial, but it is rather difficult to update this video you are watching here right now, here. So, especially for smaller changes, I will not update this video. I will only update the text. So I advise you to always use the text, or to at least take a glance in the text and see if there's something that's different to how I show it in the video. Because if that's the case, the text is right, the video is wrong. And you should do it how it's stated in the text. Okay, and with this we are really done with the introduction, and now we will start with the actual setup of these two projects to get these two web pages up there running again. First, let's talk about the software you need to have installed on your computer to run this guide. You need 5 applications as of now, which are Android Studio. This application will give us the emulator. We will install the Nintendo Switch app on and open Splatnet3 on to get the tokens. You need Git, mostly for updates and downloading both s3s and Splatnet3-token-util from GitHub. You need Python and pip to run these scripts s3s and Splatnet3-token-utils provide in version 3.11 or higher. And you need curl, which is an additional software my project needs to validate whether the tokens are correct or not at the Nintendo servers. Okay, if you don't know how to install the software, it is available on all 3 big operating systems, Windows, Mac OS, and Linux. And if you don't know how to install it, usually you can just head to your favorite internet search provider, Google, Startpage, Ecosia, DuckDuckGo, Bing, Yahoo, whatever, and just type in something like Windows, install Android Studio, for example, and then you will find a guide on how to install it usually. One thing, it doesn't currently run on small PCs like Raspberry Pi, for example, because the CPU is different in these very small computers. So there might be a solution, but if there is one, I will not search for it. Please search for it and contribute to the project by either opening an issue where you explain to me how to do it, or open a pull request if it's a bigger change where you already list the changes so that I can integrate it into the project. Yeah, if you really need to run it on a small PC, you could look for so-called x64 mini PCs. For example, on Amazon, I bought an Beelink S12 Pro where I installed Fedora Linux on, and it works like a charm. Of course, the hardware is a bit cheap, so it's a bit slow, but it has no issues and it runs and it's good that way. All right, that's that. Next up is downloading s3s and splatnet3-token-util and installing the dependencies. For this tutorial, I will download s3s anew. So if you haven't used s3s before, you can watch this tutorial to understand how to use it. However, you can also use an old version of s3s if you have already used it before. You need to update it though, because every version which is older than 0.7.0 is not going to work. That is also stated here, by the way. You need to update it then. Okay, so I have prepared a folder where I'm going to install everything. And the first thing we are going to do is we are going to clone my project, STU or splatnet3-token-util. For this, we are going to open a terminal. You can do this in Linux pretty easy. You just do a right click and say open terminal here. Here's a little life hack for the Windows users. If you are in a folder, make sure that no item is selected, and then press the left shift key and then do a right click on an empty space. Now in Linux, nothing changes, but in Windows, you will now have something like open terminal here or open command line here or something in the context menu. And if you click it, you will just see a terminal and you will already be in that folder. That is pretty useful. Okay, so let me quickly go to the console where everything is prepared already. How big should the font be? I hope this is big enough for you. Okay, and I will simply copy this command, paste it here, and then I will press enter. And now it's going to download my little project. All right, so if we go back to our folder, you can now see the project here. Okay, cool. Let's go back to the command line because we also need to download the s3s script. Same again, copy, paste, enter. Now we have also downloaded s3s. Okay, here's a little introduction for people who already have s3s. Yeah, you can just use the old version, but you are required to use a git pull, which does an update to get the latest version of s3s, which is 0.7.0 currently. Newer versions will work as well, but everything older, 0.6.7 for example, will not work. Okay, the next or last step here is to install the requirements, because both s3s and my project require third-party code to work. For example, for my project is the code to analyze images, screenshots from the emulator. I haven't written that myself. I just used some famous library which has been used countless of times because that's a bit faster. Okay, so to do that, we will first say cd, and then I will input splatnet3-token-util and press enter. And then I say here pip install -r requirements.txt. Now, for me, it's pip install. For someone else, it could also be pip3 install, depending on your installation, or something like python -m for module pip, because pip is a module of Python install, something like that. You surely can find out using the internet how exactly to use pip on your computer. For me, it's just the command that is listed here. So I press enter, and now it's going to download a lot of stuff. Takes a short while. And we are done again. And now I'm just going to say cd ... which will bring me one directory up. So currently we are in the splatnet3-token-util directory, which is this folder. We are inside here. I want to go one up and then head into the s3s folder. So that is going to, you can do that with cd ... And now, as you can see, this folder isn't there anymore. We are now in the stu s3s tut folder, which is the tutorial folder I specifically created. And now I say cd s3s. And now I do the same again, because that's actually the same command. How awesome. Enter. It's going to, you know, download additional stuff, but because they actually share their requirements, at least at some point, we can just, you know, use the same requirements, and it's a bit faster for the second product or project we are going to use. Next up is to set up the emulator. Good. To create the Android emulator, we first have to launch Android Studio. Now for Windows and macOS, this should probably be possible using the regular way, for example, by opening the Start menu and typing in Android Studio, or using the launcher or whatever. Here in my Linux, I sadly have to open the folder where I installed it. Then I have to head to the bin directory and then use this little shortcut here and say launch. It's not different on other operating systems though. And as you can see, now we have this here as an application. And what we are going to do is we are going to press on more actions, and then we have the virtual device manager there. Now, if we scroll down, that is written in text here to do that. And yeah, usually when you install Android Studio, it will automatically create an emulator for you so that you can start immediately. However, this emulator Android Studio automatically creates is not useful to us. So let's delete it. Pressing the 3 dots here and then delete. It will ask us to if we really want that, and we really want that, so goodbye. We are going down for even more. And as you can see, we already have made the first third of this tutorial, so it's rather quickly actually. What we are going to do now is we can either press this blue link here, or we can press the plus button here. And once we do, it will open the dialog to create a new device. Now, this is important. It has to be exactly the device shown in here, which in our case is a Pixel 4. Not a Pixel 4a, not a Pixel 4 XL, not a Pixel 5, not a Pixel 3. Exactly the Pixel 4. This is because my solution boots the emulator and then controls it by, you know, prepending to use the touch inputs. And if you choose another emulator, you will make, you will create a device that has a different resolution. And then everything is on different positions on the screen. And then my automatic control won't hit the right buttons anymore and nothing will work. So please make sure to use exactly what I'm showing here. In this case, the Pixel 4. Next. Okay. Now we are going to choose the base settings. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but not the finish button. That is very important. We are going to give that thing a name first, and I will call it NSA, which is exactly what I did in tutorial 2. Choose an easy name, and if possible, don't use special characters or spaces, because that might make stuff a bit more complicated. Just, for example, here NSA for Nintendo Switch app is already enough. All right, so the next thing is we are going to set the API to API 30, Android 11. That is this one. We ensure that services is Google Play Store. And we select the Intel x86 Atom system image. Last but not least, we are pressing additional settings. All right, that's this screen. Completely done. Again, you can here see the little, text telling you everything I just shown. I just showed in the video. So in the additional settings, we only need to change one thing, and that is we scroll down to the default boot here and set it from quick to cold. That is very important. Do not skip this step. It is really, very, really, very important. And afterwards, finally, there's a number here at the finish button. So we press finish. And that's it already. Now we have an Android device. Here comes the important thing. Do not use Android Studio from this point on anymore to control this emulator. Whenever I tried to do that, something didn't really work. It seems like Android Studio has its own snapshots for emulators. So sometimes I would change stuff and it wouldn't appear in the emulator, or I would, change stuff outside of Android Studio when booting the emulator outside of Android Studio, and it would not appear in the emulator when booted from Android Studio. So the best way is to not fiddle with Android Studio ever again. So we just close this here, close you, and we are back here. And that is from where we will continue. Okay, so one last hint for the previous steps. When you select Pixel 4 here and press next, somewhere in all these steps, it might start to download the Android 11 operating system first. This might take a while. It's roughly 1.5 gigabytes if I'm not mistaken. You didn't see this in this tutorial because obviously I have tested everything before and it only downloads it once, so I couldn't show you this again. We are going to continue with how to configure splatnet3-token-util. For the next step, we have to head into the splatnet3-token-util folder again and open another terminal or command line, depending on how you want to call it. We are now supposed to run two commands. The first one being python main.py. Now, depending on your operating system and your Python installation, you might also run python 3 main.py. For my operating system, I can just do both. And for the sake of this tutorial, I will stick to what's written in the text. So we use python main.py. Now, this doesn't really do much, but we can read what it does here. It generates a configuration file, tells you where it is. It searches for the operating system. In our case, it found Linux, which is correct. And yeah, then it gives us the success notification that it successfully created the configuration file. We will see what's in it soon. And we are supposed to edit it to our needs and run the application again afterwards. We will not do that, but we will edit the configuration file real quick. It also creates some other files, but we don't need those yet. We will need them later though. Okay, the second thing we do is basically the same, but this time we will use the other important script, which is run s3s.py. And it will basically do the same. It will create a configuration file, and that's the name of it. And again, we are supposed to edit it according to what we need. And that's what we are going to do next. So Okay, next up is to configure the token extraction, which is the base feature of my little project. And to do this, we need to open the config/config.json file, which got created by the first of the two commands we used earlier. And yeah, for this, we head back to the base directory and we open the newly created config folder and open the config.json file, which I have done here already. And what we need to do is we don't need to update this section, it's totally fine already. We don't need to update this section. We only need to update one setting in this section, which is the AVD name. Now, AVD stands for Android Virtual Device. That's basically the official name of the emulator, okay? And we need to enter the name of the emulator here. Now, the name is what we set earlier here, under point 1. This name needs to be entered here. Okay. So, in theory, you could also check these paths here, whether they exist. They should already be correct if you have installed Android Studio in the default locations. Also, this is a placeholder. It will be replaced by NSA, by whatever is written here. So you know that is NSA, so this will be replaced by NSA. If there's something else here, else, this would become else. Okay. Yeah, that's just, you could check if the paths exist, but if you have installed Android Studio with the default settings, they will work. Okay. There is also this little hint for Windows users here. For Windows users, it's important that in JSON files, paths need to use double backslashes. Okay, so it would be C users, someone, I don't know, documents, you know, and so on. But it would also always require double backslashes. That is just something that has to be done that way. And if you use single backspaces, the path won't work. That's just a small hint. We are using Linux though, so at least me, I'm not concerned by that. Okay, the next thing we have to do is, we can close this now. We are going to replace these two files. They got created and contain some dummy description, which explains a bit, but we need to replace them with specific files which are already provided in the project. You can find them in the script examples folder. There's a config folder, and there's the Pixel 4 API 30 Play Store folder. We copy these two files, go back to the base folder, back into the config folder, paste the two files, and overwrite them. Now the boot and cleanup txt files are used to control the emulator. And we have copied the files which work exactly with the Pixel 4 on Android 11, which is API 30, with Play Store. If you use another emulator, you would need to update these files. But that's not relevant for this quick start tutorial, so I will not talk more about it. Okay, so with this, we have this section done as well. And last but not least, we need to configure the s3s integration. Now, for this, we need to open the template.txt file. Let me get you to the right side. Bigger font size. What we need to do is we need to first change the egglog setting. Now, the egglog setting tells Nintendo where you live and which language you speak. This is your language, and this is your location. Now, in my case, for example, the language would be DE for Germany, Deutschland, minus DE for Deutschland, again, and I'm living in DE, Deutschland. This means German. This is the region of German. So, for example, if you were from Austria, you would enter DEAT, German, but Austrian German. And of course, you would set your location to AT for Austria as well. I usually choose to do what I always do. I speak a lot of English, so I set my language to US American English, but I'm living in Germany. So that's the location I usually set. And that is also what I usually use on my phones, on my computers, everywhere. So yeah, I also use it here. Now, the next two steps, step 2 and step 3, are are different alternatives. So if you only want to use Lean's getseed checker and you never want to upload battles to stat.ink, you replace this with skip, like this. But if you also plan on uploading your battles to stat.ink, no matter whether you use Lean's getseed checker or not, doesn't matter. It only matters if you plan on using stat.ink. Then you need to fulfill point 3, which means you need to open your stat.ink profile page. And then you need to click this button, which I won't do on the video. And then it will show you a token, and you need to, paste the token here. Now the token is secret, so I won't do this on video. Which means I will pause the video now and will enter my secret token into the file. And then we save the file and close it again. But that's off video, of course. Okay. Yeah. That's it. And yeah, I have inserted the code now. And the next step is we are supposed to copy this file, go back to the s3s folder and paste the file here and rename it from template.txt to config.txt. This is because if we don't do this step, s3s will ask us for additional details during the first run, and we already filled them out, so we don't want to fill them out again. Okay. Let's go back into our main directory. The next thing we are supposed to be doing is we are supposed to edit the config run s3s.json. Once again, you can use any text editor, Notepad, Notepad++. I will use Kate again, because Kate works like a charm for me. Let's increase the font size again. So the important thing is we need to fill out the s3s directory. And everything else will be talked about later. So the s3s directory in this case is this one. I can simply click here, copy this, and then switch back to Kate and fill this in. Again, if you are using Windows, you need double backslashes. Single backslashes are not enough. It must be double backslashes. So you can additionally let the script update at s3s and splatnet3-token-util. This is false by default. It can be helpful if you plan to automate this whole process of running s3s, but for most users the auto update will not be required. Don't do it. Don't enable it. You leave this the same, and this can stay the same if you leave these here on false. If you make one of them true, like here, you need to ensure that these commands here are the commands that work on your computer, which can be pip or pip3 or Python -m, pip. You know exactly what I talked earlier. You just need to ensure that these are the commands you can use. These are commands you can use on your computer. In our case, we leave both false. So the only command we need to ensure is working is the Python command. And in my case, I will just use Python without the 3. Okay, that's what we need to set here. And with this, s3s and splatnet3-token-util are configured. The next, last big step we have to do, and you can see it's not that long because it's a lot of images, is to actually set up the emulator itself. We have created it, but we haven't set it up yet. And that's what we're going to do next in the next chapter. Okay, we want to configure the AVD, that's Android Virtual Device, or the emulator we are using. And to do that, we need to boot the device first. And for this, we head back into terminal window of the splatnet3-token-util folder here. And we can simply use the command python main.py --- for emulator to boot the emulator. Again, depending on your operating system, maybe you need to use Python 3 instead. If I press enter, we will see that the device is booting here. It will take a while at the first boot, so let's wait real quick. Shortly, we will see the loading screen here, as you can see, and afterwards we will be in the main menu. Now, if this does not happen and echoes some kind of error or something, please make sure that you have all paths correct in the config.json file we edited earlier, and that the name of the emulator is correct. All right, the first thing we do is we scroll down and activate the do not disturb feature. So, whoops, this did not work. What is happening? We are pressing this button here, okay? And then we let it go down again. And this is because the emulator will be controlled by my script using regular inputs, like basically tap somewhere, tap on this icon, tap on this icon, swipe up or down or whatever. And if we allow notifications to pop up, maybe a notification shows up the moment my script tells the emulator to tap here. But then the notification will be tapped and will open some app or something, and everything is broken. We don't want that. And so to make this not disturb us, we just activate do not disturb, and then notifications won't pop up anymore. Okay, that's that. The next step is to open the Play Store and do the login for the Google account so that we can download the Nintendo Switch app using the Play Store. And for this, we press the sign in button here. Then it asks us for our info. We can now simply enter our email or phone. In my case, I will use my email. Of course, I will make this invisible so that you don't know that I don't dox myself for for no reason. You can, by the way, as you can see, my mouse is still here. You can just use your regular keyboard of the computer to type. That's usually a bit faster than typing it on the on-screen keyboard here. Okay, this email address is correct. So now next step is to enter the password. Then we press next again. And in my case, because I use two-step verification, I also need to quickly enter a little authenticator code from Google Authenticator. Give me a short second because it's going to update soon. Okay, next. And now we are logged in, and now all we need to do is we need to agree to these terms, and then it will ask us for stupid backups. We don't want stupid backups, so we just press disable the setting and scroll down. It's important that you scroll down because the button won't appear otherwise. And then we press accept. Yoo-hoo! We are now logged into Google Play. Nice. The next step is to download and install the Nintendo Switch app. For this, we just stay inside Google Play, press on the search bar and enter Nintendo Switch app. Then we press the search, and now we can see this app here. We press on install. It will download real quick. And once it's done, we are already done with this step. See how fast it is, and we are already 80% done. Pretty fast, not gonna lie. Okay, it has been installed, so the next point is to open the app and log in with our real Nintendo account. Open, and then we tap on sign in. Now it opens the browser because the login uses the browser. We disable the checkbox because we don't want to send usage statistics. Accept and continue, then it wants us to turn out sync because we could sync our passwords everywhere and stuff. I don't want that, so I press no thanks. And now we are on the Nintendo webpage, and now I can just log in. In this case, with my email address. And then I press the password field. Now I enter my password. I press on sign in again. And now it will ask me for a two-step verification again. Now it asks us to save our password. In my case, I don't need that. And now we'll quickly do the two-step verification. This is optional if you don't have it active. And after I press verify, it will list all my Nintendo accounts, and in this case it's just one, so I press. Fun story, because I'm from Germany, it will force me to switch the language to German. I don't want this, but okay. I just press diese Person auswählen or select this person in English, and afterwards we will be logged in to the Nintendo Switch app. Welcome. We press next, 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 which will actually not do anything because we are on do not disturb. And then we say don't allow. And that's it. We are now logged in to the Nintendo Switch app. And with this, everything is prepared. Nice. Good. So yeah. We now can just simply close all apps. I will do this by scrolling to the left here and press clear all. And then we can long press on the shutdown button. This will open the power menu and press power off. And then the emulator will shut down, which looks like this. That's weird, but that's just an emulator thing. It will shut down now. And now we are back in the console and we could enter another command. So this means the emulator has successfully shut down. Okay. Oh, that was this step, by the way. Whoops. I forgot to show this. I hope you can forgive me. Now we already come to the very last part of this video and the tutorial, which is actually using the app. Okay, that's next. Congratulations! Everything is ready now. With this, we have completed the setup and we are now able to use s3s again. And yeah, usually in other tutorials where you only use s3s, you would head into the s3s folder and use the s3s file to run the application. But we don't do that here. Instead, we head into the splatnet3-token-util folder and open a terminal here, and we will use this file, which is called run s3s.py. Pretty similar, right? And I'm quickly gonna do that. And the first thing you can do is you can display the help. So that's the first command here. And let me quickly copy that and paste it here. And if I press enter, we will see that we simply get the s3s help. That is because the run s3s.py file simply takes everything you feed it, like the minus help, and redirects it to the actual s3s script from the folder we've used or input earlier in the configuration file. Where is it? This step here, the s3s directory config. Okay, let's go back down. And yeah, with this, we now have the help printed, so you can see it's just everything you can do with s3s. And additionally, should you ever update s3s and the new version has something more it can do, like here's something new, you can immediately use it without having to update my project for that reason, because everything we get, we just redirect it to s3s. So whatever is working with s3s will immediately work with my project. In this case, we now know what we can do. And the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use Lean's getseed checker using the --getseed method. Okay, so the reason I'm showing you the --getseed method first is because currently there is a bug. So as you can see, we have the --getseed argument here. So what we can do is we can run Python run s3s.py --getseed, and this will fail. That is a bug. It's not good. And yeah, so when I was working on publishing my project, I needed to have s3s include a change, which is required for my project to communicate with it. And when I proposed the change and it got integrated into s3s, I have overseen a small little thing, and the small little thing sadly makes the --getseed command, this one, break when the tokens are not valid, which is the case here. We have not refreshed the tokens yet. We have not extracted them yet, so they are not valid. We haven't gotten some yet, so this is breaking. But we need s3s to not break to get valid tokens, which is kind of stupid because we can't do that. And there's a little workaround, and it is listed here, down here. Before we use the --getseed thing to get the seed, we actually use this command first. Okay, let me type it out real quick. -r--t. So what this command does is it basically tells s3s to not use getseed, but instead -r means please upload battles to stat.ink, and -t means yeah, except do not upload battles to stat.ink. So we basically say tell it to do nothing. And what it's going to do then is it's going to look whether the tokens are valid or not, and then it will complain and say, hey, I cannot do nothing because I didn't get valid tokens. And then my script will realize, okay, tokens are not valid, and then it will do the token refresh, and then it will call s3s again with the valid tokens, and then s3s will be doing nothing because the tokens are valid. It sounds stupid, but it works. So let's do it. This is the first time. I really hope it works. If it works first try, I will be very happy. Let's see. Okay, so here we can see the stored tokens have expired. It realized, okay, the tokens are not valid anymore. And now we are running splatnet3-token-util, which is my project, and it's going to extract fresh tokens now. You can see what the emulator does here, and here you can see logs of what the script thinks it's doing right now. In this case, it realizes, okay, we are in the main menu. It can open the Nintendo Switch app now, which it did. Nintendo Switch app is open now. And here I did a little thing. I actually hit the Splatnet 3 app. And what it will do now is it will search for the Splatnet3 app, and since it doesn't find it yet, it will scroll until it finds the Splatnet3 app, and then it will open the Splatnet3 app. This was a lot of work, and I'm pretty proud of that, and that's why I'm bragging with this. This is awesome. You may clap now. Okay, so it did find the Splatnet3 app now. It's opening this, and here's the next part. It will display an error message, but this is not bad. We still get the tokens. And funny enough, if you leave the emulator open for long enough, at some point it will work. I guess it's because some part of the system is not updated, and if you leave the emulator open, it auto updates at some point, and then the part of the system is updated and it works. Okay, let's see if it worked first attempt. Yes, it did. You see, success, success. And now we are back at running s3s again. And this time we found out, okay, the tokens are valid. So now we actually continue and do nothing because of the -t. Okay, now we are done. This was only needed because of the bug. You can see if the bug is still there if you click on this link here. And as long as it says open here in the top left corner, the bug is still there and you need to run this step. And now we can do what we actually wanted to do. Python run s3s -- getseed. This will work now because the tokens are valid. Okay, so it's validating the tokens, they are valid. Okay, done. As you can see, it will now download our gear file, and then we will enter the gear file into Lean's gear seed checker tool. You can see the file has been exported. So let's head to Lean's gear seed checker tool, into the user settings, and the button we need to use is this one. You can read this right. Please follow instructions at s3s to get your JSON file. Please follow instructions from this issue to get your token. I don't know if Lean is going to update this with a reference to the video and my project. I don't know. But we can press upload now, and then we press open. And now I'm going to head to documents. S2, s3s, tooch. And then there's the s3s folder, and here we have the exported gear, and we press open. It will take a quick while, and it turns out my database is already correct. It already contains all the gear I own because I was using it over the time. You would now press update database, and now everything would work fine. Okay, that is Lean's gear seed checker tool. And now we are simply going back to using stat.ink upload, which are these two commands. Last but not least, let's use the upload feature to upload battles to stat.ink. Before I show that, let me quickly say something that's important. So I still have the logs from the gear seed checker tool. And as you can see here, success and success for both G token and bullet token. Sometimes this fails. Okay, so it tries to extract the tokens and it doesn't work. That is expected. The way the extraction works is it opens the Splatnet3 app, and then it copies basically the memory or the brain of the entire emulator, and then it searches through this copy of the emulator brain, so to say, and if it finds the tokens, then it's a success. It doesn't always work first try because it's a timing thing, and maybe it's a bit too late and the tokens are already forgotten, and then it has to try again. In this case, it would boot the emulator again, and it would try again. That is expected. That's just the one disadvantage this method I have proposed is having. But on the other hand, it is very simple and probably the simplest method you could probably use, which is currently working. All right. So for the stat.ink export, you can probably, or mostly you will use a command like this. This one starts monitoring mode, and this one just uploads the last 50 battles. Monitoring mode means that each 5 minutes it automatically looks for new battles and uploads them again. So let's just do this. Python run s3s.py -r -m. And I have deleted the config file and replaced it with one where the tokens are not valid anymore. So we will do another token extraction right now. When I press enter, go. And you can see, again, it found out the stored tokens have expired, as written here. It's going with the first attempt, and it's booting the emulator, and will take a very short while. And then it's going to extract the tokens again. This time it will be a bit faster because I haven't hidden the Splatnet3 app. I don't need to brag every time. So the emulator is booted. It will go to a main menu. It will search for Nintendo Switch Online app. It found it, opens it. And now it will go to the Splatnet3 app, which is the first entry. In this case, it found it, opens it. And now it will do the extraction of the tokens. So that's called a state, saving a state. And once the state has been saved, it will just shut down the emulator again. And once the emulator is shut down, it will search for the tokens, hopefully find them, and then run s3s again to boot up monitoring mode. Okay. Goodbye, emulator. It was nice knowing you. Okay. It's searching for the tokens, and success! It found the tokens. Nice. So after 77 seconds, found them, and now it's going to boot up s3s again. The tokens are valid again, and now it's searching for the last 50 battles, whether they were uploaded already or not. Well, they were, because I didn't play Splatoon today. I was creating a little small tutorial for YouTube instead, and now we are in monitoring mode. So for the next 2 hours, each 5 minutes, it will search for new battles. If I was playing now, it would automatically upload battles each 5 minutes. And in 2 hours, the tokens will not be valid anymore, because tokens are only valid for 2 hours. So s3s would stop. My script would realize it, that the tokens are not valid anymore, and it would automatically boot the emulator again, extract the tokens again, and go back to s3s with fresh tokens, and s3s would continue in monitoring mode. That's how it would work. Okay, that's everything. Quite a long tutorial. I hope it helps you, and I wish you a pleasant day. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. You can also go to the project and create an issue here. Issue is basically, if you want to propose a change, a new feature, or if you found a bug, you can talk that here, or simply if you have any questions because something is not working for you. I will try my best to help anyone who needs help, and that's that. Of course, you can also contribute to the project. I try to keep it as understandable as possible. It is still rather complex. It became much more complex than I wanted it to become. And yeah, that's that. Have a nice day. Goodbye.